Yeah, the shining golden signs. Let your inner sparking night. Fat treasure, growing bright.
Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is your boy Kamen Rider Spike back again once again today, people. Today we're here for I'm about to say Kamen Rider #1 Sentai Gozyuger episode 25, and this episode was really good. I really liked this episode. Like I pretty much like, I don't like every single episode of Gozyuger. I don't like, well, I don't like them as much as I like others, but this episode was fantastic. The fighting was fantastic. The only thing I can say about the fighting in this episode is the fact that I feel like the camera was a little bit too close to everything, because I feel like I was getting like a little disoriented, and it was only with the scene where everybody was like in their ranger forms, but that was it. But other than that, I love this. I love the climactic, reveal that the Grit No.1 was the principal's daughter the whole time. And we basically got another No.1 monster who was like possessing someone, and it was a person that actually like kind of really mattered, and it was the daughter of the president, and she knew how to fight and everything too, which would make sense because he was a martial arts teacher, and also the principal. but yeah, this whole episode is about grit, and I ain't talking about grits that you eat, even though grits are delicious. I'm Southern, get over it. But yeah, we see that this episode is really just about the Grit No.1 monster, who has basically trapped everybody in the vicinity of the school, and he's also locked their rings, so they have to go through a bunch of like little trials and things like that, and they're going up against 10 Red Rangers that Keon has summoned. And Keon, he makes like a small like appearance, like he's not doing much. They fight him and stuff like that, but he just kind of feels like he just like where he been at. He just kind of came in out of nowhere. He's just hunting rings for the queen, and he basically talks to the Grit No.1. Basically talks to this No.1 and basically is like, yeah, because like to Baridon, like you're basically like a traitor. Like I was like, wow, because we do know that the Baridon comes from a whole nother planet. They have huge metropolitan cities. All the No.1 monsters basically are like their own people and whatever, kind of like Renutes. So yeah, like they are regular people. So yeah, it would kind of make sense if one betrayed the queen or something like that. But yeah, so Keon, he's not really doing much in this episode at all. Like he's here, and he sicks a bunch of like Red Rangers onto our team and stuff like that. And we see that they have to go through these trials to see, Grit is just like, yeah, how tough are you? Welcome to the salty spittoon. How tough are you? How tough am I? But but yeah, we see that they're basically getting through the trials with ease to a degree, except for like Green and Black, who were just Green, Black, and Polar, who were basically like kind of gave up on two of them. But we did get this awesome scene with old boy from last episode, who was Pato Red, who basically gained like his confidence back, and thanks to Hodu. And Hodu's like, yeah, so what if you're a loser? Losers have grit too. Like Hodu does this thing where he just takes like the most negative thing a person can be and makes it sound cool to be that. Like he made it sound cool to be a loser in this episode. Like how do you do that? You made it sound cool to be a loser in this episode, and I'm just like Hodu just has this ability to just make it like cool to be this. I'm number one heartbroken guy. I'm like, what? That's nothing. That's something you should be proud of, my boy. But yeah, so they're fighting this. They're fighting the No.1 monster. Well, they're fighting the Grit monster, and after they've also like defeated a bunch of 10 Red Ranger. You know how Keon can summon his rangers as like ghosts. He ends up sicking 10 of them on him, and yeah, they end up defeating all 10 of them, which was amazing. We see since the guys can't change, they can't transform or something, all they could do is just fight these things with their morpher, with their Tegasword. And that scene with Horu and old boy who was Pato Red, yeah, them two, they 2v10'd 10 Red Rangers and won. I was like, yo, and then got respect from them. I'm like, yo, it's dope. But yeah, and also the Cake King and Cake Queen, they are also here, just doing stuff. They're the mech fight for this episode too, and we see that after they end up defeating a lot of the shadow Red Rangers, or Red Ranger ghosts, you see that Mashido ends up stealing a bunch of them, turning them blue, and then calling Tegasword. And then when he calls Tegasword, he basically has like a reunion with Tegasword technically, because him being back in the cockpit of Tegasword, he used to be the red. He was the first like Goju Wolf or whatever, so he ends up taking 4 of those blue rings and then 1 gold ring, but the gold ring is Tokuger, so he ends up taking a Tokuger ring and then transforming Tegasword and giving him the train arms from Tokugen. And I'm just like, random, like we didn't get no foreshadowing to this at all. It was just randomly happening. So they end up fighting the Cake King and Cake Queen, and ends up taking them out. Basically just gave Mashido something to freaking do, I guess. And they also reminded me a lot of the stuff that a lot of the Sakito, because Sakito could do the same thing in Boom Boonger, where he could take he literally had the Tokuger's like Zords. He had them. He could call them anytime he wanted to, and he could just put them on top of Bu and Diesel. Like, it was cool. But yeah, after they defeated the Cake King and the Cake Queen, we see that everybody is fighting a bunch of the soldiers, a bunch of the Red Ranger ghosts. They're fighting Keon. And after all that's said and done, after everyone's been defeated, we see Lupin Red and Pata Red, the president and his student, they teaming up to fight the Grit No.1 monster. And we see that the president is fighting him outside of his suit and stuff, but he's a martial artist, but he's not doing nothing to this freaking monster. He's tanking everything. So we see that old boy comes in, he saves him and says, hey, I want to protect this freaking academy, I want to protect it with you, and we go save your daughter. He's like, all right, cool. And and the president is like, I keep saying president, the principal, he's basically like, yeah, I guess I can't run off and die by myself here yet, can I? He's like, nah, you can't. So they both henching up, and they both take on the Grit monster, the No.1 monster together. They end up defeating him by taking the power of the Orca booster, and ended up gaining their armors that they had, the armors that Pato Ranger and Lupin Ranger had in their show. Like, they actually end up gaining those power-ups. Ends up blasting him. That's not enough, so Pato Red grabs him and tells Horu to blast him. And then he's like, okay, cool. So he blasts him. He puts up a shield and he blasts him, and he ends up destroying the monster. Then we see that Lupin Red comes in and steals the gold Tegasword, then goes up to the No.1 monster, stabs him, grabs his daughter, pulls her out, saves the daughter, but wham bam bibbidi bow. Like, everybody's good, everybody's saved. And we also see that Horu ends up gaining 2 new gold rings, and everybody everybody keeps their rings, but Mashido is the one that ended up with the most rings in the first place. He ended up turning them blue and everything. But yeah, guys, this episode was good. Also, Keon, after they beat him, he's nowhere to be found, because he ends up getting defeated by Byakuya and Ryugi. But other than that, hey, this episode was dope. I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. The freaking fighting in this episode was awesome. The pacing was kind of fast, but it was still cool. And I did like seeing, you know, Lupin Ranger versus Power Ranger again teaming up and stuff like that, which is always the best. But other than that, if you made this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. I thoroughly do appreciate it. And if you like this, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, do all that social media garbage. Follow me on all my other social media platforms, and I'm gonna see you next time. And remember, stay henshin.